the worst performing currency in the world. And according to Bloomberg, Ghana's Cedi lost about 13% of its value against the US dollar in the third quarter of this year, and that making it the steepest quarterly decline among global currencies. And that headline has left many businesses, traders, and households worried about what this means for their pockets and the broader economy. But here's a twist. On year-to-date basis, the Cedi has actually been one of the best performing currencies in the world, showing significant gains earlier this year. So what is really happening? Why did we see such a sharp fall in quarter three of this year? And more importantly, what does this mean for businesses, for consumers, and also investor confidence? And joining us this morning to unpack the numbers, the causes, and the possible way forward is Dr. Felix Larry, He is an economist, a development economist, and he's executive director also for IDER. And he will help us separate perception from reality and point what lies ahead. Doc, good morning and welcome to the Business Breakfast on Z.
Good morning for having me this morning, and thank you.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to have you.
Pleasure is mine as well. Yeah. And this is my home, so anytime I am called.
Thank you so much.
Once I'm available in town, I have to, obey to the call.
We're really, really grateful. Yeah. And of course, I mean, we keep hearing that your insights are very, very deep, and that is why we keep bringing you, and we're so grateful that you always make time to be here.
Thank you.
All right. So let's get into our conversation this morning. I mean, this is something that for a lot of people, it didn't sit well, because at one point, just I think about a week or two ago, or no, not a week, maybe about a few months ago, we were the best performing currency in the world. And then we are hearing that we are the worst performing currency. Is that how the thing changes so fast?
Yes, it is. First of all, I would like to say good morning to your cherished listeners and the viewers on your social media handles. Yes, your question is absolutely yes, because currencies fluctuate depending on the economic outturn of your economy. And so when you chalk some gains, there are some, important economic strategies or policies you need to put in place to ensure that you sustain the growth or the gains that you are making as far as your currency is concerned. And so, yes, it happens like that. Once you get the gains, you need to put measures in place to sustain it. If you don't do that, you will actually retrograde. I mean, and that is why, we are seeing what we are seeing now.
Now, an economist, I saw a headline recently, and he says that strong Cedi without strong production is a mirage.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, actually, when this thing happened, I have been engaged by one TV station in one of their evening shows, and I think I made that point clear.
Right.
But before I go to that, let me quickly clear the air on one thing. When we started chalking the gains, the actual administration members, I mean the current opposition party, were alluding to them. In fact, they wanted to take glory by saying that it was their policies and programs that this government has inherited, and we are seeing the changes. That wouldn't be bad, but I objected that because we knew where the economy was, and we knew where they took the dollar from and where they ended with it, and the policies and programs that they were putting in place that were not actually inuring to the benefit of the state. And we actually complained. Some of us were sitting on the benches raising red flags and those stuff, and they never listened to us.
Right.
So I objected to that, and I will come back to that. And then at the same time, they were also alluding to the fact that, the gains were, in terms of the currency strength, were due to external factors. Yeah. So you could see some sort of contradictions in their standing. At one point in time, it was their policies. At one point in time, it was external. Then it came to a point that, it is even artificial because there had not been any policy. Again, I disagreed because the policies put together by the Bank of Ghana governor and the finance minister were actually doing the magic. The gold board is itself a policy, that is being implemented by setting up a board to ensure that the resources are well managed in terms of the trading aspect of it. And then if you look at the revenue-based mobilization strategies that were put in place, it's also, a policy kind of agenda. The government decision to ensure that he will cut waste itself is a policy. And then I also argued on the fact that, look, The decision of the finance minister to improve public financial management was also kind of a good policy. So all these things working together brought us the gains. But at the same time, I raised the red flag that in as much as we're getting the gain, it was premature for us to start jubilating.
Right.
Except the fact that the government would deliberately put together a productive-driven kind of policy agenda to ensure that we sustain the gains that we're getting within the short, medium to the the longer term. But I think that has not been done. Look, Bloomberg's report is basically structural. They are talking about the structural effects or the structural deformities within our economic structure. Any economy, no economy in this world has been able to strengthen its local currency by depending on imports. You can't.
Right.
Because if you look at Ghana, for instance, our inflation and currency depreciation has been mainly driven by what is called import kind of factors. Because, for example, when it comes to the importation, you are going to China, you are going to US, you are going to the international market to bring whatever that you want to import, be it rice or what have you, food commodities or non-food commodities. You will need to carry your local currencies and acquire the foreign currencies before you can import the quantity that you want to import. The more people actually demand, or the more importers demand the local the foreign currencies by, in terms of their attempt to import, the more the downward pressure on your local currency. And so that will actually weaken your local currency and make the volatility very high against your currency and your entire economy. So I agree with those economists. I think I am happy that when it comes to, at this time, we are not looking at the political aspect of it, but we are all trying to have some sort of, scientific diagnosis of the whole problem and then profess, possible solutions to government. I think that this particular administration have done well in terms of the Cedi management. However, there are inefficiencies in their attempt to improve the production sector by turning our economic structure from import-driven to export-driven. I think has been extremely slow. Look, take agriculture. If you look at agriculture, Ghana here, the rice we eat, about 60 to 70% of them are imported. We are even importing maize. We are importing tomatoes from Burkina Faso. We are importing onions. We are importing, offals, yemadie for TZ. We are importing them. How disgraceful it is to a country, like Ghana. We are importing poultry products. Poultry, chicken part and all of that, turkey and all of that. We are importing them. As at last year, I think we spent about $2 billion for rice alone, and over 300 million for these poultry products and offals and all of that. These are dollar, that or foreign currencies that you are using your local currency to chase after in order to import these commodities. And they came with very lofty ideas. The name might sound funny, but it is the best. And may he so rest in peace. It is an ideology way back by is it Danlate? Yes, domestication.
Yeah.
You understand? How long does it take for you to breed broilers and then grow them and get them to the maturity stage for consumption? 3 months. Rice production, 3 months. Maize, 3 months. In fact, there are even varieties that have been developed by the CSIR that even have shorter maturity or growth lifespan or something like that. Right. And at the same time, they are drought-resistant varieties and all of that. If we are serious as a nation, nobody should come tell me here that they just came into administration by just, barely 8 months.
This is their 9th month.
Yeah, this is their 9th month. And I think, even if we are not yet there, we should see certain actions.
Right.
The government, not to denigrate them totally, have launched so many very important policies and programs. For example, the Feed Ghana. I don't see the Greek minister really doing the magic. We need somebody with hot blood to be able to do 10 things around. Because we saw the planting for food and jobs, where we pumped in hundreds of millions of dollars into it, and we saw nothing. Rearing for good for food and jobs, the same thing happened. So Feed Ghana, I was expecting that things like the Nkukwankete, the export-driven, whatever agriculture, we are talking about farm service center and what have you. By now, we should be seeing certain things being done. Look, this year, by the grace of God, we'll be experiencing some bit of bumper harvest. Not because that is not policy driven. It is because, in the northern sector where the farmers have one major, planting season, they do what they have, locally developed or devised their own means by doing what is called dry season agriculture. Right. At that point, they pump in a lot of, fertilizer and all of that into the soil. And because it is a dry season, before the fertilizer could be absorbed by the plant's roots, there should be rain to dissolve the fertilizer chemical, into watery or whatever form before it can be absorbed. Because of lack of rain, most of them remain in the soil.
Okay.
Only few is absorbed by the plant. Right. And so now that this year, you could see that, marginally we have experienced good amount of rains. And so because of that, because of the already mineral deposit in the soil, when it rained, actually, it inured to the benefit of their growing production in the current production season. And that is what is going to help us. I wouldn't want to hear anybody saying that government has done any policy or has put any policy in place. So far, the launches that have been done, I have not seen anything. If somebody has seen, you can open your phone line for the person to educate me. That is being done to put those policies and programs that have been launched by the president into actuality or into action for us to see the tangible results. Nothing has been done. 24-hour economy has a very, very beautiful agriculture kind of model in there. You can take the document. Beautiful. But I don't see anything happening over there. So if you look at, and production sector is not an isolated kind of thing. It is a change. Because the agriculture side ought to provide, aside the food that we have to consume domestically, also has to provide the raw materials for an industrial takeoff. So if your agriculture is not seeing anything, then your guess is as good as mine. Nothing proper or tangible is going to happen in the industrial sector, where we will talk about value addition and all of that, and even think of export. It is the export that will bring us the forex, the foreign exchange earnings. If we are not doing production and all we are doing is consumption, then I think your guess is as good as mine. So I share the opinion of the economist. I think we are all speaking from the same angle. Like I said last week, I was on air in the night in one of the major TV stations, and I made such a point.
Right. Okay. So it looks like the issues are there. We know the solutions, but nothing is being done. And I agree with you. I personally haven't seen anything out of the Nkukwankete, which was touted very loudly right from the beginning of the administration. We launched a lot of things, even youth programs and all of these things. We are not seeing anything. Yes. And this is not to denigrate also, the government and all of that, but we wish to see certain things happen in the coming days. But okay, let's come back to our conversation on the Cedi. Now, interestingly, when we look at the year-to-date performance, we've been able to grow by I think 22% or so, but for the third quarter, we're seeing a decline, 13.1% or so, and that is why the Bloomberg is saying that we're the worst performing currency in there. Why is there such a sharp contrast between the quarterly fall and the year-to-date gains?
Yes, so you can see that we are approaching the Christmas festivities. So that is why my earlier submission. If the government, had put together some productive sector investment agenda with rigorous implementation process by the sector ministers and their agencies, then we could have, for example, poultry and rice, which are the major commodities that Ghanaians consume in the Christmas festivities. We would have seen some sort of. At the moment, these importers are buying huge sums of dollars to import these commodities. And that is what Bloomberg is talking about. So again, we come back to the structural problem. You understand?
Yeah.
No production, especially in the agriculture sector. I keep saying that I am so passionate about agriculture because Ghana is an agrarian economy. And even from the inception of the subject area called economics, it was agric that was being used. If you read the economic textbooks, 2 bushels of corn and what have you, simple demand and what have you. Go to the textbooks like McConnell and all other stuff are there, in your library. You will see that they were using agriculture commodity as an example, because the world itself is an agrarian economy.
Right.
You understand? So if you don't do that, especially for Ghana, it's a very sad situation. So the declining is as a result of increase in our desire to import a lot of food commodities and non-food commodities, mainly for the Christmas activities. So that is actually what is happening.
What is happening?
So the sharp decline. And if you look at the historical economic antecedent of this country, between the months of August to December is where you see our currency suffering a lot. You can check in the past 10 years. That has been the phenomenon. Right. So when I saw this, gains in our local currency, I thought this government, will listen to some of us, and talk about or deal with this means of, sustaining the gains that we're getting in the first 2 quarters, of the year. But it seems they relaxed. They thought it's going to be the same thing. Look, at this stage, if we don't look at the way we can manage our importation by improving production, I think the cycle will be the same. It's going to be, a windfall for us and then a downfall for us and all of that during the end of the year. Because it's importation, and Bloomberg has gotten it right. The problem is structural. The problem is basically structural. We are import driven, and that is not good for us. I am looking for this government. And I have had the opportunity to be at a program where President Mahama has appeared. If the man is speaking Greek, you could see that he has beautiful ideas. But he alone cannot implement it. And that is why I'm impressing on him to, as a matter of urgency, think of doing reshuffling. Some of the ministers are sleeping. And if he doesn't take care, all the efforts and the goodwill Ghanaians have given him, they will let him down. You understand? Yeah. Look, another aspect, let me drift a bit from agriculture, is tourism. Do you know what tourism can do for us? We have just celebrated Fetu Afeshe, but we are not talking much about Panafest. Fetu Afeshe is at Ogwa, Cape Coast, my own hometown. Yeah. And Panafest is something that in the days of President Rawlings to the early part of President Kufuor, the country was gaining a lot from Panafest as far as tourism is concerned. During Easter festivities, go to Kwewu and the Kweapim area there. The beautiful programs that we do, we only go there to eat chicken, imported chicken and rice, and then those other people with all due respect, it's early morning, but let me be a bit funny here. Go with girlfriends and what have you, go and have fun. Newly wedded couples go there and have fun. It's not bad. But what are we doing to, lure in, foreign tourists, to come here so that we can make money? I also talk about, historical, cultural, and traditional religious heritage. You understand? Recently, I was at a Kweapim area, and I went to Okonfa-Anochie's hometown, Ukugwa. I've had the opportunity to travel to India for a business, and I took the pain to visit their religious site. If you go, all their religious sites, you will see Lord Hanuman, and the Hindu people, I think they will be happy with me this morning. Lord Hanuman, Krishna, Lord Shiva, they are areas that they came. If you see Lord Hanuman's footprints and all of that over there, and they have made it beautifully, and they claim it is a holy water. And people pay, thousands of dollars to travel from wherever they are to that places to just attend or pursue what is called a pilgrimage, with the hope that they will have some sort of, divine blessings and all of that. Right. We have, when I went to the field recently, though our work was not related to that, but because of my social commentaries and all of that, I took the opportunity to get one traditional priest to educate me. A very old man, close to 95 years, told me that there was a time of Okonfa-Anochie, actually planted palm fruit, right. Palm fruit or palm tree, and that same day they harvested it. You understand? And there is a place that they have just only planted the tree. In India, you would have seen they creating some small, water something around it or whatever, and people will go in there and fetch the water and even take it to their country and be doing prayers with it, hoping that go to Israel. We travel and go to Israel. We have all these things. Go to Central Region, Asebu area there's this historical, divine mythology called Asebu and Memphis, whatever. I have been there with the footprint and all of that. This is what I'm talking about, that the tourist minister, who also happens to be somebody who has been in the entertainment and in the media circles, to be creative enough to look. Gold board alone cannot do the magic. I've said it over. I think you have interviewed me before. I've told you that, look, it is playing a lot of role in the gains that we experienced. But there are other ancillary sectors of the economy, like tourism, like agriculture, that will help us rake in a lot of foreign. Because the thing is about demand and supply. Right. At this moment, we are demanding more dollars to import food commodities and non-food commodities ahead of the Christmas festivities. You get the point. But if at the same time we have also been able to, improve our tourist sector or tourism sector, and then we are bringing in a lot of international tourists, getting to the latter part of the Christmas getting to the Christmas festivities, we see that there will be some sort of balance, in the demand and the supply of the local currency, coupled with agricultural production to cut down our importation of food commodities and all of that. Not only agriculture, we talk about clothing. You understand? I think government itself should also commend President Kufuor started this thing, okay? Which was a good start, but I think he could have done more. It shouldn't be a norm that if you are go to the University of Ghana, if you are going to do your presentation, these are my bosses and my fathers, and this morning I'm criticizing them. I remember when I was doing my PhD, there was a presentation I was supposed to go and do. I was wearing my African print. I was made to go home to go and wear suit and tie. And that day I felt so bad.
University of Ghana?
Yes, University of Ghana. My own department. And they are listening to me. They know that this is their son speaking. Some of them are listening to me. In fact, they told me that as for this place, you have to dress well. And I was asking myself, what is the meaning, what is the operational definition of dressing well? I have had that. I've had meetings, business meetings, where there are people from the United Arab Emirates in this country. You will see them even in this hot sun. Yeah. They are in their jarabia and the whatever scarf. You go to India, the Indians go to the computer shops over here. The Indian women are still dressed in, in their traditional wear. The men are dressed. Few of them you will see that they are wearing the Western dresses. We have made it a culture that if you don't put suit and tie in this hot weather, you have not dressed executive. I like your outfit. It's traditional. Mine is traditional. The day I finished my PhD is when I doled out all my suit and foreign dresses. You understand? Yeah. Or if you check my wardrobe, everything is African wear. The only Western wear that I wear is maybe some T-shirt and some sneakers and whatever moving around my area. Otherwise, if I'm going for important functions and programs, I put on African print. We need to do that because we import clothing into the country. It's dollar. But if we're able to domesticate and even this Western dress, we have good tailors and fashion designers who can do equally same. So we need to look at all these things. So the issue is importation. And I couldn't, disagree with Bloomberg.
Right. Now, when you see headlines like this, like worst performing currency, spread very quickly on social media, it often shapes public perception. Do you think that such headlines sometimes exaggerate the situation, or as it were, affect confidence in the economy in some way?
Yes, it will affect because they boost speculation. It boosts those statements will actually boost speculation. And when speculation sets in economics, speculation is one of the dangerous things in economics. Depending on how you manage it, it can be positive or negative. In this case, it's going to be negative. Once you issue that statement that is the worst performing currency, foreign investors may even be triggered, and they will be very careful because if the money that he's bringing is not going to have that value, it's going to be a problem, know, and all of that. So we need to be very careful with the statement. I think that is a bit exaggeration. That is the worst performing. This morning, yesterday night, I tried to even compare our Cedi with the other African currencies. We are not too bad. Okay. We are not too bad. Just that my fear is that if this trend continues, persists, even inflation will set backward. In other words, instead of the downward trend we have been enjoying, now the headline inflation is around 11.5%. It may go back because when importations, when the dollar and other foreign currencies actually perform better than our Cedi, what it happens, the cost of importation becomes very high. And when it becomes high, the importers are also not for the Christmas, so they'll pass on that, and that will actually, cause a surge in prices of goods and services. As I speak to you now, already Ghanaians, when the currency was performing, they were claiming that they had old stock. So they have to sell that one first. But now that you go to the Medina market, you will see the real show of the businessmen over there. They have already increased prices. You understand? So it all borders on the fact that we are not having better regulation. But I think it's an exaggeration, full of exaggeration by saying that, it's the worst performing currency, what have you. You see, sometimes these Bloomberg and those stuff, everything that's political economy. You understand? First of all, they are American and the Western kind of research or whatever firms. You understand? And yes, sometimes they will praise you and what have you, but don't also be solely headed when they are praising you. Sometimes the little glitch, they will actually blow it out of proportion. You understand? So I understand some of the statement, but the point is that any fair-minded economist or financial analyst will try to look at other currencies in Africa and their performance, and even across the world and their performance. Yes, the cedi is depreciating, but after all, it has just been 13%, right? We have other African countries where within I think by the end of the third quarter or so, they have depreciated more than 40%. They are also there, so you can't say it's the worst performance currency in the world.
All right. Okay, exactly. We have just about 15 minutes or 12 minutes to the top of the hour. This is Business Breakfast on Z. If you just tuned in, this morning we're having a conversation with Dr. Felix Larry Silfi, and he is a development economist, and he's helping us understand exactly the headline that Ghana, the cedi really is the worst performing currency in the world. I'd love to hear from you. If you have a message, please send me a WhatsApp on 0544321019, 0544321019, and I'd read your messages for you. You can as well call me on 03039566641, 03039566641. We're streaming live on Facebook at ZFMGH and on YouTube at Z Multimedia. You can drop a comment there and I'll read them for you. All right, Doc, let's move beyond the headlines a bit and look at the fundamentals. And I know you're speaking extensively about the import and all of that, and even the fact that Christmas is coming, and so people are importing. They're taking advantage of where the dollar is now to be able to, where the cedi is against the dollar, to be able to import. Doesn't this have to do with any global trend at all?
Already, if you look at the global market, oil has increased a little bit. But I will not say it has zero effect on what we are seeing now.
Okay.
It contributes, but marginally or majority-wise, you could see that the problem has been domestic, more of domestic trend than global trend.
Right.
So that is why I'm saying that if, for example, in fact, even the oil, are we not drilling oil in this country? What has happened to our toll? You see, that is the problem we have as a country. So it borders more on domestic. Even the global with the oil and all other stuff, we can have control over it. There are some global factors that you cannot have control over. But something like oil prices, you can have control because you have toll. You are drilling oil. What has happened to toll? If you put it in good shape, a greater majority of the oil you consume within your economy can be refined here. You understand? And then you don't have to drill the oil, send it out there for it to be refined, and then they sell it back to you. And you have to spend money to go and import them. So all these things are, domestic factors. But you see, apart from the domestic factors, so apart from what I've actually outlined as domestic factors, there are fundamental issues that we also have to look at.
Right.
The dollarization of the economy. Of course, recently the Bank of Ghana has seen the trick. They knew, but I think they were finding it difficult to move. But finally, they have moved. But even in their moving, I have not seen action being backed by the directive that they issued.
Doc, it's good you brought this up. One of the questions on my mind since they brought that particular notice or directive is how they are going to do that. And so if you're saying you are not seeing any action really, what kinds of actions are we expecting from them?
So schools that are charging dollars, it is simple. You can actually regulate and make sure that there is monitoring to ensure that they are charging cedi. Hotels that are charging in dollars, you can monitor.
You think they should set up like a task force or something?
Of course.
To do that?
I've been talking about regulation. Look at what Sam George is doing. Is Ghana, a free market economy? Does it qualify? It tells you it's a mixed market economy. Government has a say. So if you look at the Honorable Communication Minister, Honorable Sam George, and the multi-choice, the fracas between them, you understand?
Yeah.
You see that Ghanaians are in support of what the Ministry of Communication is doing, the minister is doing. Because
I've seen a few people, disagree with him anyway.
Well, that is there, but on large, of course, you cannot have all the citizenry, support it. But at least you can see that with my interaction, a greater majority are in support of that, because you see, our economy is even far better than the Nigerian economy. The Nigerians come here, and then they even see here as Western world, because you look at our currency and our economic indicators. You understand? Yet they are paying cheaper than us. So you see that the minister's call is the right call, but that is regulation. The same way the Bank of Ghana, has played role. In fact, under the leadership of this way, I must confess that he is doing very well. But there is a lot to be done when it comes to regulation. The system can easily be regulated. Don't sell properties in dollars. But you see the funny thing, after they issued the whole directive, even government institutions and agencies are quoting contracts in dollars. They are quoting contract in dollars.
And that's not the first time they are bringing such a directive, though.
Yes. So you see, the whole thing, it is one thing making a declaration of the agenda, of the policy agenda, and then another thing implementing it, and then putting monitoring systems in place to ensure that the monitoring is going the way it ought to go.
Right.
So you can, and this directive, it is not the first time.
Yeah.
I think even in the, was it in Mills or Mahama's first term, there was a directive like that. You understand?
Look, I think even this year, this is the second time they're.
Yes. So you see, I think I see institutions to be impotent. You understand? Ghanaians, we are good at putting things on paper. Beautiful. As for that one, if we go for world contest, we'll be the best. But when it comes to implementation, we'll be the last. You understand? The issue of, he's my sister, let me allow, you do this, or don't do that. That way of, the leniency is the problem that we are facing in this country. You have put a beautiful system in place. Look, rent in East Legon, or go to Airport Hills and Airport Residential area. Renting an office, they are quoting in dollars, and it is so absurd. I'm in Ghana, and you want me to carry a Cedi, the local currency that you are supposed to take. You want me to go and change it in dollars and come and pay you. Some of them will smartly say that I'm quoting in dollars, but you can bring the Cedi equivalent. It's not the same thing. Because you see, indirectly, you are taking the dollar, because when you quote in dollar, I have to look at the Cedi dollar relationship and get the equivalent and come and pay you.
Right.
Which is not fair. So the point is that call, the dollarization, ought to be rigorously pursued. The de-dollarization ought to be rigorously pursued in the economy to ensure that schools are charging the local currency. I have had the opportunity to be in South Africa. Look, my first time of stepping in South Africa, I was having $500 in my pocket. By the time I was able to change the money into their local currency, the remaining, after deducting all the taxes and everything, at the airport, the remaining, dollar equivalent of their currency in my pocket was less than $200. I'm telling you. I have been to India, the same thing. Difficult to change your currency. And you cannot easily spend your raw dollar in any shop.
Right.
You understand? So these economies, if you see their currencies performing very well, it's not a rocket science. So there are deliberate policies and programs in place which are, judiciously being implemented with strict monitoring systems in place to ensure that, those who flout the law are rigorously and severely dealt with. But we sit here, we put the agenda, or we make pronouncement and announcement out there. Don't do that, and we sit back. And you think people are zombies? They are just going to people who are profiting from the already corrupt system. You think they will just change overnight? We are not saints. And Ghanaians are one of the stubborn, citizens that you can ever find on the continent of Africa. We are calm and slow in doing our things. We are not robust and aggressive as our Nigerian brothers and sisters. But I can say we are even more dangerous than the Nigerians. At least the Nigerians, you will see that if they get you, they will not spare you in terms of, cutting corners and get the deal for themselves. But Ghanaians will be very subtle and slow. Before you say Jack, they are off. So the point is that it's a good call to de-dollarize the economy, but it shouldn't be just mere way. Bank of Ghana ought to put a task force in place to ensure that they monitor regularly. And these days, there are even AIs that you can track. You understand? There are a lot of private schools, basic schools, not even universities, are charging in dollars, claiming that they are international school. International school is defined by the curriculum you are running, not the currency you are charging your fees in. So we need to be very smart as people. Number two, the aboki. The aboki, when we saw the gains in the Cedi, I made a call on one of the media channels that, look, we need to take a critical look at that place, because all the people who were holding dollar at that time, if they want to change, they will run to Aboki. And even some of the banks are dealing with the Aboki people because the difference gives them a lot of mileage in terms of profit.
True.
You understand? So we need to actually sanitize the system. I keep talking about regulation. Any country or economy with weak regulation system will never see the light of day in terms of economic progress, because at the end of the day, only the bourgeoisie up there, rent-seeking behavior, get the booty, and the majority of the people who are in the middle to lower income bracket are the people who suffer. And when you have such group who are majority or who form the major part of your population are suffering, as a government, you are not doing well. Because welfare, we are all pursuing welfare in the sense that we cannot make everybody better off. But the point of the matter is that a major part or portion of your population ought to be better off as compared to the least group, so that the major who are better off can use the resources, to support the rest. Otherwise, we are not going anywhere.
Right. Okay, Doc. It's because you've been talking about the Bank of Ghana. Let's stay on the Bank of Ghana for a few minutes. Now, one of the things that we've seen in the past few months, at the beginning of the year, and you even started your conversation with that the Bank of Ghana has intervened a few times in the market, really, to help stabilize the Cedi. Do you think that their interventions, or how effective have their interventions been so far from where you sit?
The interventions were doing well during the early part of the year. But you see, too much of that is also creates artificial kind of thing. So if you recall, the IMF came to warn the government to look at what is called the price signaling effect.
All right.
When you do not allow the forces of demand and supply to play naturally, organically, and all you do is to dumping money or dollar forex into the system just to ensure that there is stability or a gain. At some point in time, you can no longer do that again. And that is where we are now. You understand? So the whole thing was that the organic way of intervening was to ensure that we are more driven. We are driving ourselves towards export instead of import. And then ensuring that some of these not just made the de-dollarization and all of that are well taken care of. Then naturally you see that the system will begin to play fair. But what the Bank of Ghana was doing, and it was good at that time, because when they came, the dollar was averagely 17 point something, to a Cedi, and all of that, or vice versa. Cedi, so to a dollar, the Cedi was 17 point something, and so we needed that more than anything. And don't also forget that the government has also started servicing our foreign debt. You understand? So, and these foreign debts are calculated in foreign currencies. And so the government itself would demand dollar in order to settle this debt. And that is also contributing to that. So we need to be very, And the one thing that people, and that is a very unpopular reason, but they are real. And my economics that I did, I don't do book economics. I try to relate economic theories to practicalities. Is the churches, most of them have foreign accounts operating offshore. Especially those that have their headquarters that are naturally not Ghanaian, churches. Especially the Orthodox churches and the Pentecostal churches who have their headquarters. They send money to their head offices. You understand? And even those that are Ghanaian born churches operate foreign account. So put $2 million on Friday into the system. By the time it is Monday, it is gone. So it's like pouring water into a basket. So that is why we need to regulate the system and all of that. So I think we can't say outrightly that the interventions by the Bank of Ghana at that time has not been effective. It has. But the point of the matter is that that particular approach was not sustainable. That's why we're calling for more sustainable approach to sustain the gains that we're actually chalking at that time.
Now, some critics actually say that the central bank should be more aggressive. But others also say that their hands are tied by limited reserves.
No, I don't think, because as at now, even the gold board within the few months that they wanted to reserve gold have been able to reserve about 3.7 billion United States dollars worth of gold is there. And then our our national reserve, is around 10.5 to 11 billion United States dollars worth of, a reserve, which is equivalent to about 4 to 5 or 6 month import cover. So the reserves are there. But you see, the Bank of Ghana, economic is a science. Finance, monetary policy is also itself a science, because it's a branch of economics.
Right.
You see, you need to be scientific in your approach. The Bank of Ghana is smart. They know that pumping, continuously dumping, raw dollar or pounds or whatever into the system is not the sustainable way. Because one, it will end up depleting your reserve.
Yeah.
You understand? Number two, what it will to also create artificial demand and supply system, which is not sustainable not even in the medium term, not to talk of the long term. And so now they are trying to shift from that intervention approach to a more sustainable approach. So these things will be temporary. But my point is that I hope that whatever they are putting in place will not only be either short-term or a medium-term, but it will be a long-term kind of sustainable agenda to ensure that we bring the cedi back, to its, form as we enjoyed in the early part of the year, and continuously like that. So we can't say that they have not really been effective in their interventions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Doc, but beyond the central bank, beyond Bank of Ghana, I know that government fiscal discipline is also very, very important. Yes. What role does government spending and borrowing play in the strength or the weakness of the cedi?
Very good question, my brother. That's why I like your conversation. You see, another role the fiscal side has been playing is that now they have started some expenditure. Not to say that they were not expending as people were claiming. They were spending, but the spending was actually highly curtailed. Now, what is happening now is that you could see that during the media budget review, the finance minister outlined a lot of expenditure that they have incurred in terms of paying debt. The national health insurance debt is paid. The national national food buffer stock company has been settled, and other agencies, most of the SOE state-owned enterprises were in red. Now the government has been able to provide subventions to them to ensure that they have started, they have been on their knees, and some of them have started taking on with strict KPIs. You remember the government, the president invited all the CEOs into the high office and then cautioned them that at some point in time they see that you are not performing, you'll be kicked out. Yeah. So all these things, exactly, all these things are spendings that the government is. But you see, other spending that the government is doing, I feel like they are consumption based instead of productive based. Is one. The national sanitary pad kind of thing. Yeah. I'm not saying it's bad, but if I were the president and the government, instead of outrightly doling out 600 million Ghana cedis to bring these things, I'll use it to set up a plant. Or have a PPP.
There were so many calls for that, actually.
I'll have a PPP arrangement. There are people who are even using natural, herbs and banana stock and all of that to do that. Have an MOU with them. Let them produce. A portion is used for such a social protection agenda. The rest is used, sold. Government get your tax. Or if you government, you are the one even setting up the plant, you get your revenue as well as your tax. That is very, very key. But we are importing that. That is consumption, because when those sanitary pads go, they don't bring any sort of revenue. That is number one. Stress-free first year fees. It's also consumption. You can see that. So this one also, somebody will argue that it's an investment in the human resource sector. But this one, I beg to differ. I beg to differ because you see, human resource kind of thing is not done this way. You are paying fees. You understand? Hoping that in the
nearby future they will.
You need to have. Be deliberate with even the kind of programs. If it is human capacity that you want to build, look at the sector. that you need human capacity. We need a lot of human capacity when it comes to TVET.
Yeah.
You understand? The
Being
technical
tech and
vocation.
all of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You understand? So if you keep on paying fees for abstract programs, you
I
know,
don't want to mention
not to denigrate other
Absolutely,
courses, but
very important.
we are looking at the structure of our economy and what we need as a state. If you just do wholesale fee paying and whatever, it's consumption. I beg to differ. Free SHS, you could see that the government came to meet it. There were fears that they were going to cancel. They promised that they were going to make it better. They have gone by the promise. That is also, yes, human capital in the future, but at the moment it is consumption. Because government has doled out more than 450 million Ghana cedis in that sector. You could see that now headmasters and headmistresses are not complaining. Students are not complaining. They are eating quality food and all of this is consumption. At this stage, I think government could have looked at a better way of, channel those resources into the productive sector rather than the consumption. So fiscal side, the government has started, paying debt. Remember contractors. You understand? The debt that was left by the ex-Wall administration, more than about 3 billion or so. The government has started paying that. And then domestic debt, foreign debt, as I said earlier on, all are being catered for. These things will also exert pressure on the local currency. Take it or leave it. It's a fact.
It's quite some way, because the same issues that we were complaining about, that to the ditch we were in by the end of last year or towards the end of last year, are the same kind of things that you are talking about now. Spending so much, borrowing to finance certain social interventions that are only consumption based and doesn't bring us anything in the short term. And those are the same things that the government is doing currently.
And I think I blame the Ghanaians. Ghanaians are naturally, born
we like the free things,
to enjoy, booties, freebies and all of that. So the politicians have seen, that if I don't promise that, they will not vote for me. But you see, I keep saying that if you were a government, your agenda is to do things that will boost job creation, increase production, and people will make money to pay for these things. After how much is part? It is people like the young girls are suffering because their parents are not well to do. There's no job. Incomes are low. And so if you have 3 girls, it's not easy to manage them. And so the government says, I will give you the free sanitary pad. Instead of the government using that one to maybe create a tomato processing factory or maybe gold processing factory or something like that, which will create jobs, add value to our, our primary export commodities. Before we export them, we get more, boost the economy. People get more income, they pay their taxes. Government, you get yours to do all the social amenities that you want to do. And then people, when they have their income, you cannot tell me that they cannot pay their fees. I prefer getting a job, earning good income, and paying my children's school fees than a government saying that they are going to give me free education where even there are no textbooks, where even there are no school infrastructure, where even there are no good food, where even there are no enough teachers to actually, student-teacher contact rate has reduced and all of that. So I think we need to reorient ourselves as a country. Countries that are doing freebies and all that. I'm not saying social protection is not there. Social protections are there, but we need to be rational and strategic about it. It's not a wholesale thing that, I will do this, I will do that. Look, free SHS is a good thing. I cannot defeat that. But the point of the matter is, I think then and even now, we are not ready for it. The structure of the economy is not good for that. Look, at the basic level, the ex-Wall administration was not even able to print one textbook. I beg your pardon. One textbook to the schools. We are buying. The private sector has actually invaded that particular sector. And what they are doing is that they print and they charge parents exorbitant prices. School has reopened. Parents are bleeding. Parents are crying at the basic level. Yet we have F-Cube. Look at our public basic schools. Now everybody is taking their children to, private schools because the public basic schools are virtually like a piggery. You understand? Your child goes there, and I've been in classes. I had a maid servant with me that I wanted to educate. I took them, at that time I was staying at OEB. I took the girl. I went to meet 84 to 90, students. Some of them 3-4 sitting on a small desk. Others have to in Accra. Not to talk of villages. Immediately, I had to find a way and sacrifice and take the girl to a private school. More affordable one. So, we need to look at these things and stop enjoying freebies that are not sustainable. It will get back hunters, if not us, maybe the next generation yet to be born.
Doc, these are very real issues. Unfortunately, our time is up,
Yes.
and we have to go. I know that this CD matter we're talking about this morning has an effect on businesses, especially importers. What will be some realistic things that they have to do in these times as the CD is falling and all of that?
Yes, I think the importers, if there are things you think you can get in Ghana here, first of all, look at it.
Okay.
In Ghana here. Especially those few processing companies that we have, those few manufacturing companies that we have in the economy. If there are some raw materials that are easily accessible in the country, maybe you have to rather send your specifications to those who produce the raw materials, and then you look at them over here. Others too, there's nothing much you can do about it. It will actually have to be a national policy for businesses to be able to thrive very well. And so I would say rather that the government now, looking at the trend, should rather do what is right. Production. Productive sector strategic investment. Boost local production and boost local value addition. Ensure that the value chain, of this economy is well strengthened. Then we can export something good and innovative into the world market, compete effectively, and rake in more forex. The gold that we are even exporting today, it is a non-renewable natural resource. One day we will not get it again. And so we need to look at better ways of, doing things that will protect local businesses, expand the economy, grow it. Businesses must thrive, more jobs are created, and then we all get better. In terms of importation, businesses now have to play a smart role. After all, during the gains, I'm sure they put certain things in place to serve as a shock absorber.
Yeah.
So maybe in the interim, they can fall on that and ensure that they sustain whatever they are doing. But the bottom line is that now, if they are planning, they should be very careful, because the way the dollar has, started, performing against our local currency, if you don't take care of your planning process very well and you do things the usual way, I'm sure it's not going to help. But I don't think it is any cause for alarm. It's not too much of a, because we're at 10 point something. We just moved to. So just imagine a 13% increase. Our call to government is that this trend shouldn't continue. It shouldn't continue. If it continues,
so what will be one a single most important action the government must take today to stabilize or strengthen and strengthen the city?
Yes, all the things that I've professed are actually long-term kind of thing.
Yeah.
Others too immediately can be done. But in terms of the government, I don't know what they can do in a single most in 10 years. Nothing that there are, but essentially at the instant I don't have anything.
Essentially, the things, the policies they put in place must work.
Yes. And I think what I can say now is that at the initial stage, the Bank of Ghana and the Finance Ministry, so in this case, the fiscal and the monetary, they were collaborating. That the collaboration ought to be deepened.
Right.
And you made mention of people calling for the aggressive nature of the Bank of Ghana. I agree. Not only the Bank of Ghana, even the fiscal policy managers also have to put in aggressive measures. They shouldn't lose hold of the revenue, of the expenditure-based revenue mobilization agenda that they started pursuing. They should also improve public financial management, as they have been doing. All these things will inure directly or indirectly to the benefit of the gains, in terms of the gains that the city will make against the other foreign currencies. But as far as Bank of Ghana is concerned, I think government interim or immediate steps that it can take is mainly through the Bank of Ghana in terms of aggression, like the dollarization and all of that. And they should also actually work with the bank effectively to ensure that even importers, they will not be allowed to cash raw dollars. For some of them, they may need X amount of dollar, but because they want to hold dollars because of the gains that the dollar has started making, they will apply for XY amount, keep the difference, and use the actual amount to import, so that they keep the rest. When we do that, more dollars will then again go into the hands of the citizenry, and it will become like a gold trade in the system, as we were seeing in the previous administration. And so the aggressive nature of the Bank of Ghana to de-dollarize the economy is very, very important. They have issued a statement that people shouldn't do that, but that one is not the only thing that they should do. They should implement and ensure policy. Monitoring is also actually in place, and then the Abuchi and monitor churches and what have you. In fact, the dollar withdrawal ought to be seriously curtailed. Very, very important. If you're an importer, just send the particulars of your supplier over there to the bank. Let them do the transfer direct. The interbank rate is far, okay, as compared to the, the illegal forex market, which also contribute to this thing. So I think in the interim, that's what the government of Ghana can do to stabilize the situation, whilst they pursue the medium to long-term agenda in terms of production expenditure, looking at tourism, and then ensuring that all consumption expenditures are reduced and rather monies are channeled into the production sector. I think that is what ought to be done.
Doc, it's a good time to wrap up now, but maybe I'll just pick your thoughts on this one finally, and then we can go. Do you think that the government is overwhelmed with the problems, and they don't quite seem where to start from? Seem to know where to start from.
In terms of what?
In the solutions, all the things you mentioned, tourism. There's opportunity there. There's in agriculture, almost every aspect.
I don't think they are overwhelmed. You see, NDC is the party that has been in government for a longer period than any other party.
True.
Remember, under Rawlings, it was almost 19 years. Mills Mahama came for 8 years.
Yeah.
Mahama has come for 4 years. NPP was Kufuor, Nanado 16 years.
Yeah,
add that of NDC, you see that. So when it comes to experiencing governance, I would say NDC has it more than the NPP.
I'm not even looking at just one government against the other.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it holistically.
Yeah.
That all the time, these problems, these solutions that you are professing are solutions that have been professed and professed and professed. So why aren't we really seeing anything? And I'm thinking that is it because when they get there, the things become to some way, and it's not about NDC and NPP.
Yeah, I get you. So when they get there, one, incompetence is one of the factors. And I can tell you, I don't want to mention minister's name, whatever, because this station is apolitical.
Exactly.
So I'm careful about that. But incompetency, and you are very smart. You even as I'm saying, you can picture some of the sectors, full of incompetence. Number two, it's like even the manifestos that government come with, they really don't understand it. And number two, they don't mean it. So that is also another thing. And number three, they prioritize political kind of benefit over national over public good or national benefit. That is the problem we face. Now, as they are in government, and this is cut across, like you said, not one party against, but all of them, as they are in government, the very first day that they are sworn in, they are thinking of the next election. So everything they do is how can it benefit us in the next election. So at the end of the day, the key national agenda is relegated to the background, and then they pursue political, kind of beneficial agenda and whatever in terms of their programs and whatever. It's not that they're overwhelmed. Look, the problem that we face at this country and we face in this country, they are simple things that if you put somebody who is not well educated over there, the person, look, Ghana's economy and that of Burkina Faso was not too much different, though we were a bit advanced than them. Look at Traore. That guy doesn't have a university degree. I stand to be corrected. But look at the magic he's doing. We need that kind of thing. The commitment and the political will is not there.
It's not there.
There is no sense of patriotism on their part. It's not that they're overwhelmed. Incompetency, lack of patriotism, political benefit over national benefit is what is killing us as a nation.
And we won't be able to change the country with this particular attitude. Doctor, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me, my brother. And I enjoy having conversations.
I always enjoy our conversations myself. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, then that brings us to the end of today's Business Breakfast on Z. We've been discussing the headline, Cedi named worst performing currency in the world. What exactly is going on? And from our conversation, it's clear that while the Cedi did record the steepest fall in the third quarter, the broader picture is more complex. Now, the underlying causes from high import demand and limited forex supply to some fiscal pressures and a little, Doc says some small global trends as well. All of that play a role. And as we've heard, the way forward is lies not in the short-term interventions alone, but also in the long-term reforms that build resilience and also restore the confidence in our currency. A big thank you to my guest, Dr. Felix Larry. He is the Executive Director of IDER, and he is a development economist. Thank you so much for helping us unpack these issues, and to you, our listeners, for joining the conversation right from 6:15 till now. Really grateful. And before I go, let me do this birthday wish that has come in. Happy birthday going out to Chris Moses Kodo of the TG Holdings and the Independence Ghana. God bless you. God bless you, sir, for taking me under your wings and mentoring me. Thank you for giving me my first opportunity as a digital marketer. God bless you, sir. This is from Christopher to you, to you, Chris Moses Kodo of the TG Holdings and the Independence Ghana. Says that happy birthday to you. All right, so we are back again tomorrow for more interesting conversations. My name is Nicho Ebi Hammond, and this has been the Business Breakfast on Z. Please stay with us for more business insights. And until next time, which is tomorrow, please keep asking the right questions. And when you think Ghana, think Z. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.